Turning back to that breaking news out of Chicago, Customs and Border Protection says agents were shot at.
Today, the Justice Department is announcing significant enforcement actions against the largest, most violent, and most prolific fentanyl trafficking operation in the world.
Prosecutors have dismantled a major drug trafficking ring in Bartholomew County. The case resulted in dozens of arrests.
Happening right now, federal authorities at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport have uncovered what is being described as a transnational cash pipeline that moves over $1 billion a year. We are here today to announce a massive federal seizure of bulk currency destined for the Middle East, part of a money mule network that has operated under the radar of airport security for half a decade. The FBI, DEA, and Customs and Border Protection have executed a tactical strike on a private aviation hub, shattering the most sophisticated criminal logistics operation ever discovered in the Midwest. At 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, while the commercial terminals at MSP were winding down, a different kind of traffic was moving through the shadows of the private hangar district. A blacked-out SUV pulled onto the tarmac, stopping just short of a Gulfstream G550 idling under the sodium lights. Three men in expensive suits began unloading 10 identical silver metal suitcases. They moved with the practiced efficiency of high-level couriers, oblivious to the 40 federal agents positioned in the darkness around them. When the breach command was given, the tarmac exploded into chaos. Flashbangs illuminated the rain-slicked pavement as tactical teams from the FBI and ICE swarmed the jet. This wasn't just a drug bust. This was the export terminal for the Minneapolis shadow state. The suitcase lids were forced open right there on the runway, and even the most veteran agents went silent. Stacks of vacuum-sealed $100 bills were packed so tightly they had fused into solid blocks of currency. Each suitcase held approximately $12 million. By the time the final tally was done, over $120 million in physical cash had been seized from a single flight. But the money was just the beginning. In the cargo hold of the private jet, agents found something far more valuable: the flight manifests and encrypted logistics logs that detailed 300 similar flights over the past 4 years. The money mules weren't just moving cash. They were moving the lifeblood of a global criminal empire. For months, federal analysts had been tracking Project Skyfall, a code name for the Sinaloa cartel's air bridge between the heartland and Dubai. The investigation began when a local bank teller in South Minneapolis reported a series of unusual transactions. Every Monday morning, 3 different individuals would arrive at the branch, each depositing exactly $9,900 in crisp $100 bills, just under the federal reporting threshold. But these weren't random people. They were the Smurfs for the Money Mule network. They were part of a logistical chain that collected cash from the North Loop bunker we recently exposed and prepped it for global export. The digital forensics cracked at the FBI field office revealed the terrifying scale of the operation. The Sinaloa cartel didn't just rent these jets, they owned them through a web of shadow corporations and fake aircraft leasing firms based in Delaware and Panama. They had hired former military pilots, men who knew how to fly low-profile routes and avoid international flight tracking systems. These weren't your typical drug smugglers. These were the executives, a tier of the cartel that never touched the narcotics, only the profits. Their mission was simple: take the dirty billions generated in Minneapolis and move it to the gold markets of Dubai, where it could be converted into untraceable bullion and physical assets. The ledgers found in the silver suitcases identified a logistics coordinator named Omar Al-Fayed, a man with dual citizenship who specialized in alternative remittance systems. He wasn't a street soldier. He was a financial architect. He had built a parallel banking system that used Minneapolis as its central hub. The money mules were recruited from local communities, often young men with clean records, who were paid $50,000 per trip to simply sit on a plane with a suitcase. They were told the money was for legitimate real estate investments in the Middle East, a lie that allowed them to pass polygraph tests and maintain a calm exterior during routine airport checks. But Al Fayed's network required more than just mules. It required high-level protection. The bunker files had already hinted at a shadow state, but the airport hub investigation exposed the ground-level collusion. Agents found that 2 senior baggage handlers at MSP and 1 security coordinator had been on the cartel's monthly payroll. Their job was to ensure that the silver suitcases never passed through traditional X-ray scanners or customs checkpoints. They used blind spots in the airport's aging surveillance grid, moving the cash through maintenance tunnels and service elevators directly to the private hangars. This wasn't a breach in security. It was an engineered bypass of the entire federal oversight system. As the investigation into Project Skyfall expanded, the FBI launched a series of simultaneous raids on currency exchanges and halal grocery stores across the Twin Cities. These locations served as the collection points where street-level drug money was consolidated. In one grocery store in Cedar-Riverside, agents found a secret counting room hidden behind a walk-in freezer. Inside were 4 industrial money counters that ran 24 hours a day. The smell of the cash was so strong that agents had to wear masks to prevent nausea from the chemical ink fumes. They seized another $40 million in that raid, along with ledgers that linked the cash directly to the $300 million clinic fraud ring we previously investigated. All the roads led back to the same destination, the airport. The scale of the Money Mule fleet was revealed through seized satellite communications. The cartel wasn't just using Minneapolis. They had established relay hubs in Atlanta, Miami, and Las Vegas. But Minneapolis was the crown jewel because of its proximity to the Canadian border and its status as a major international transit point. The cash flights didn't just carry money. They often carried gold, diamonds, and encrypted hardware wallets containing millions in cryptocurrency. This was a diversified financial logistics chain designed to ensure that even if one flight was caught, the other 99% of the billion-dollar revenue stream remained safe. One of the most chilling revelations from the Skyfall servers was the infiltration log, a list of names that went beyond airport staff. It included TSA supervisors and local law enforcement officers who had been paid to tip off the couriers if increased federal scrutiny was detected. The cartel had essentially bought their own early warning system within the very agencies tasked with stopping them. Honest agents who had spent years tracking these flights found that their investigations had been quietly shelved by superiors who were secretly on the Sinaloa payroll. The badge had become a shield for the mule, not a weapon for the law. At 4 a.m. the day after the tarmac raid, federal marshals executed a warrant on a luxury condo overlooking the Mississippi River. This was the residence of a high-ranking official, Commissioner Robert Sterling, who oversaw regional transportation safety. Inside his safe, agents found keys to a private hangar and a ledger detailing consulting fees paid by shell companies linked to Omar Al-Fayed. Sterling wasn't just taking bribes. He was the one who authorized the maintenance shuts that allowed the cartel vans to drive directly onto the tarmac without inspection. He had turned the city's infrastructure into a private highway for the cartel. The regional eradication phase of Operation Skyfall involved over 1,000 federal agents hitting 14 locations in less than 6 hours. They seized luxury cars, 3 private jets, and confiscated $18 million in cryptocurrency. They arrested 89 individuals, including 5 senior airport officials and 3 pilots. The airport hub had been dismantled, but the tactical analysts knew this was a global war. For every mule arrested in Minneapolis, 3 more were being recruited in Miami or Los Angeles. The shadow state had a continental reach, and the airport was just the most visible part of the network. The human cost of this logistics empire is measured in more than stolen billions. The money moving through MSP Airport was the profit from the fentanyl and meth that has ravaged the Midwest. Every silver suitcase represented thousands of broken families and lives lost to the poison the Sinaloa cartel pushed into our communities. The money mules might have looked like clean-cut businessmen, but they were the financiers of a tragedy. They were the ones who made it profitable for the cartel to continue its infiltration of American soil. If you're still watching, hit that like button so more people understand the tactical reality of these cash pipelines. Comment "Expose" if you believe every private aviation hub needs a full federal audit to stop the cash flights. Power hides in plain sight, using our airports and our infrastructure to move the profits of crime. This story is a count, but the logistics of money mules and cash flights are based on the very real methods used by transnational cartels to bypass American law. We must remain vigilant, because as long as there is $1 billion to be made, someone will be waiting at the hangar door. The investigation into Project Skyfall also uncovered a Phase 3 plan, the establishment of a private cargo airline that would operate entirely under the cartel's control. They were in the process of purchasing decommissioned military transport planes, which would have allowed them to move 10 times the amount of cash and narcotics in a single trip. They had already scouted remote airfields in northern Minnesota and Wisconsin that could be used as secondary entry points if MSP became too hot. The cartel wasn't just adapting to the law, they were outrunning it. The forensic accounting of the airport hub revealed that the network used mirror trades, a sophisticated laundering technique where money is deposited in Minneapolis and an equivalent amount is released in Dubai without the cash ever physically crossing a border in some cases. But for the bulk of the $2.7 billion yearly revenue, physical transport was the only way to move the sheer volume of paper. The cash walls of the North Loop were just the beginning of the journey. The silver suitcases were the final step. The fallout from this operation will take years to fully clear. Federal prosecutors are calling it the largest logistics takedown in the history of the Midwest. But the realization remains that the shadow state is a parasitic organism that feeds off our trust. It uses our legitimate businesses, our airports, and our government officials as cover for its growth. The only way to stop it is to drag every ledger, every suitcase, and every corrupt official into the light of day. This is Military Command. We are the watch on the wall, documenting the infiltration that others refuse to see. We will keep hunting, we will keep documenting, and we will never stop until the last money mule is grounded. Tap the notification bell to stay informed as we track the next phase of the Sinaloa infiltration into the American heartland. The airport hub is down, but the network is already looking for a new runway. Don't let them find it in your city. The families who came to this country seeking safety were exploited by these financiers, turned into smurfs and couriers to shield the leaders from risk. The community centers that were supposed to build hope were instead used as collection points for the silent net. This is more than a crime. It is a betrayal of the American dream by those who see our generosity as a weakness. We will continue to expose the shadow state and its financiers until the bedrock of our cities is secure once again. Power does not always announce itself with violence. Sometimes it hides behind the hum of a jet engine and the click of a suitcase. Sometimes it wears a suit and flies private, while the neighborhoods it feeds off of crumble. This story is a reminder that the most dangerous infiltration builds itself from within, using our own infrastructure as its weapon. Don't let them stay silent. This is Military Command, and we are the watch on the wall.